Hello and welcome everybody to a very special edition of the Buy Round Interview Show. Today, we're joined by the NRL CEO, Andrew Abdo, talking all things Las Vegas. But before we get into that, Andrew, welcome to the show. And how was the off-season? Does the off-season even exist for the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company?
It does. It was brief. It was really good. Summer in Sydney is spectacular. I spent some time with my wife and kids up on the Central Coast. We had a beautiful time. But to be honest, I'm hungry for the footy. It's great that I'm talking to you again, James, because it means it's not long till kickoff and some live football action and, you know, the smell of a barbecue on a Saturday morning, grassroots footy, but also the season opening in Vegas. So it was a really good break, good opportunity. It's always a good opportunity to reflect on the year that was, to recharge the batteries and to come back with sort of like a sense of renewal.
Yeah, I'm... As a former player, when in the playing days, I was very much, no, we got to shorten the season. Now, as a pundit and a fan, I'm like, make it longer. We need our football back. We're people in the streets, all the fans, they're desperate to get the game back, and we don't have long to go. With Vegas around the corner, it still doesn't feel right almost saying that. And I think back to last year or 18 or 6 months before the end of the previous season. And it got announced and it didn't feel real. And then getting on the plane there, it didn't quite feel real until we were on Fremont Street and the season launch happened there. And then the games, it was phenomenal. It was such an achievement. How's the feeling going into year two?
Good. You know, we're building on the success of year one. We've learned from it. But just taking your point around what it was like and it's sort of the journey for us started probably about 2 years prior to the match. And I remember going across and Peter and I had a few trips and we landed in Vegas and, how are we going to make a dent in America? It's a massive market and they're so passionate about American sports. And then Vegas in itself is so vast and broad and there's tons of signage, but and all these world famous shows and the Super Bowl was going to be played there and Formula One and how are we going to make a dent? And then slowly but surely we started to see, we were obviously spruiking our game and we were getting sponsors in the stadium and the Raiders and all the other stakeholders there excited about what we were going to bring and the fans that would travel and how this would come to life. And then slowly but surely we started to see it. We started to see our signage outside the stadium. Tickets were going on sale. And then when that week happened, we had signage at the stadium and at the top end of the strip, the other end of the strip at Resorts World, we had signage there. And then we just had all of these fans, not just wearing the jerseys of the teams playing, but just wearing pretty much all 17 clubs were represented with fans. And there was it was a community event. That week was all about community. People were happy and it was Magic Round on a global scale. And I think that Fremont Street experience of the fan day, that was an absolute spine-tingling moment for everyone.
It was. Including the players. It was.
And then seeing the players' eyes when they first saw and had their captain's runs at the stadium and seeing that they were going to be playing in this like modern-day Coliseum, it was all very surreal. And we've built off that success and that hard work. And year two is going to have more people and it's going to have more games and it's going to have more things for fans to do. And we're going to win more fans globally and in America, which is exciting.
Yeah, well, like you've spoken about, 2024 was a huge operation. Come back, undoubted success over there, the impact it had here in Australia. 2025, you decide to double your content with 2 extra games. What was behind the decision to put on a women's test match and also invite the Super League for Wigan and Warrington to play?
Well, we've got to give credit to our chairman, Peter V'landys, because he's a bold visionary. And when we sat together and we're brainstorming around version 2.0, it was him who said, there's an opportunity here for us to really showcase rugby league globally and to invite and to work with the Super League clubs, those who wanted to participate. And we're fortunate we had Wigan and Warrington, 2 of the stronger teams, really keen, and Super League brings for the first time ever the 2 biggest, obviously, rugby league competitions as well, but we're playing for points here, right? Like these are serious fixtures. So working with them has been terrific. They've been great to deal with, and that opens up now. We've got about 9,000 English fans coming. So it adds a whole nother dynamic to the experience and the sense of community. But the real opportunity was showcasing our female athletes on a global stage. The Jillaroos haven't played England for a long time, and there is this sort of almost dormant rivalry. But more than anything, like the growth of women's sport globally is huge. But we wanted to showcase just how good our rugby league athletes are on a global stage, and so it was a natural opportunity to then have an international at that time of year.
Obviously, being there last year, you spoke about the 17 NRL club jerseys being represented. Well, there was a huge following from England that came. I was, constantly being stopped by people in the street with British accents that were there for the rugby league. I'm delighted that the Super League are playing a game there. I think it's going to have a huge impact and implications for the Super League over in England and the exposure that it will get. But from a business point of view, from the NRL, you could have got those fans to come anyway. I would have argued. Was that in the thought process? And part of me starting to think, and you hear talk of the NRL and the Super League potentially buying out. Is that something that may be discussed over in Vegas? Yeah,
I mean, we have ambitions to really globalize rugby league. It's a fantastic sport, and the competition is phenomenal. And we want the Super League to be healthy. We want the game to be healthy, and we don't want it to just be in the north of England. We want it to be in England, in France, in Europe. So the opportunity for us to grow the game in the Pacific, and the opportunity for us to grow the game in Europe more broadly, like that's our bold ambition, unashamedly. And you've got to take small steps gradually and consistently over time to get to the globalization of the game, which is not a pipe dream, but is also not an overnight thing. And so more collaboration between Super League and the NRL is healthy and strong, and that means that we can start to think more strategically about how we work together well beyond just this fixture. So that is an element of it. But also, don't underestimate 9,000 fans coming and enjoying something that's pretty cool. And us trying to grow the NRL competition, the following of the NRL competition in England and in Europe. We want people on Watch NRL and streaming and following our, some English players, but just the competition generally.
Yeah. That I was thinking that's where you might go with this to look at the British European sporting market, the time zones, with Thursday night, that's Friday morning in most of Europe, Friday evening, that's Saturday morning in most of Europe, and Sunday afternoon, early hours of Monday. But there's a spot there that's currently vacant for live sport in the UK and most of Europe. Can the NRL sort of tap into that time slot that's currently vacant?
You summarised it perfectly. That's the strategy for both the US and for Europe. It's not competing with the primary sports, the core sports of those countries and nations in terms of time zone and in terms of time of year. So it's creating for a sports fan an opportunity to follow something like in Australia. We've got our NRL fans that follow American sports out of season, like on a Monday morning, and I sometimes have to remind staff to switch off their screens who have fantasy teams and so on and so forth. And fantasy football is another example of this, like where you've got engagement, you get to know the players, and you have an interest in the competition because you have a community of mates that you play fantasy football with, but it actually causes you to follow the competition more broadly. So unashamedly, we want to capitalize on the fact that this is a big market. We want to be a niche following in that market. The time zone helps us because we don't compete with the core sports, but we can also offer fantasy products and the gamification of the game and the showcasing of our clubs and our athletes to a massive sports market.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly back to Vegas and the event itself. For those that are going to make it an annual pilgrimage, you said it's going to be bigger and better for fans. What can the fan that's in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks' time expect to see?
A couple of things. One of the key learnings from year one was, as I said, that fan day at Fremont Street, the sense of community, and feedback from fans was they wanted more opportunities to come together and be in groups and connect with other fans from all over the world. We've got fans coming from 31 countries. And in America, the fans that have bought tickets are representative of 50 states. So people are traveling in for this. The sense of community was a big one. So we've set up a fan hub. So at Resorts World, from Wednesday through to Saturday, Fan Hub will be an opportunity to act like a meeting point for fans to get together. Media will be there, so no doubt you'll be there, TV, radio, and there'll be opportunities for the fans to actually meet the players. So the players will come down and interact with the fans. There'll be giveaways and competitions and all sorts of fun things. We'll be educating Americans around how the rules work, and we'll be doing that in quite a fun way. So Fan Hub will be active throughout the week. Great central meeting point for fans that are traveling, connecting and meeting with their mates or with fans from across the world. The Las Vegas Nines is another big one for us. So these are amateur rugby league players who've gotten together, formed a team. Could be a club team, could be a social team. We're oversubscribed, over 30 teams, 500 people, taking place over 2 days. And they, of course, then stay for the whole week and then come to the game on Saturday, and we're looking after them. We're running a combine. So we're looking to showcase 25 male and 25 female US athletes coming from a variety of sports, NFL, some basketball, rugby sevens, trying out for a development contract with our clubs, and there'll be 4 spots up for grabs. So we've got now much more interest from the clubs. We've got GMs of footy coming, having a look at the talent. And then there will be we're hosting a sports conference for those of you who are interested in the business of sport. And throughout the week, there'll be a variety of opportunities, obviously the fan day as well, for the fans to not only meet the players, but more importantly, kind of get to connect with the broader rugby league community.
Mate, it's one of the great things about our game that isn't spoken about enough, in my opinion, is just how accessible the players are to the everyday fan. To go and meet the stars of the game, all you need to do is be a member, and you go to Members Day and you can meet Nathan Cleary, you can meet Cameron Munster, you can meet any star of the game. So the fact that the fans have that accessibility, it is huge. I don't know of any other sport that welcomes the fans to meet the player. It's something that I think we've got to hold on to, and we should be. We certainly should fight for that.
The players are terrific. I remember you used to lead the charge when you were playing, and now you an even bigger celebrity in your media career. But our players do a fantastic job of taking the time. And you can see the players like they're in a different environment. So they themselves are enjoying and sapping up, this environment, which means that they're a bit more relaxed. But we're all everyone's kind of staying in the same precinct at Resorts World. Tons of fans staying there and with the fan hub. So that natural, authentic interaction, a photo, a selfie, a signature, just the smile on the players' faces is as big as the smile on the fans' faces. Like everyone is really enjoying it. It is a great part of our game.
It really is. One fan that may or may not be there, a new fan to our game. It's been spoken about President Trump potentially attending. Where are we up to with that?
Well, I mean, he is a phenomenon, isn't he? Like whether you like him or not, he gathers a lot of media attention and creates a lot of content. We've invited him to the game as the President of America, and obviously hopeful that he'll be there. If anyone in Australia was going to get Trump to the game, it'd probably be Peter V'landys. And I know that he's working his connections in terms of getting Trump excited about the game, and we hope he comes. But even if he doesn't, I think we'll have a number of other celebrities and influencers there that hopefully will kind of see what this game's all about.
Is one of those people potentially Joe Rogan? Because you could make a strong point that he influenced the presidential election over in the States quite significantly with him hosting Donald Trump on his podcast. But also, I was listening to an episode of his a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about sports. He has this one particular show called Protect Our Parks, and there's a group of them, and they're just very casual, and they're drinking and whatnot, and the conversation just flows. And they were talking about different sports and what is the quote unquote the best sport, the most demanding sport. And Joe Rogan actually said soccer, and then some people were sort of back and forth, and I was like,
I bet you that got the debate going.
Rugby league.
Yeah.
So they're talking about simulation in soccer and diving. And, no, it's so stop. But I'm thinking rugby league in terms of endurance, athleticism, skill, physicality. Like it ticks all the boxes. I think obviously he's a huge martial arts fan. Yeah. But to showcase our sport to someone like him, if he was talking about and the reach that he has would be like so good for the game.
You're 100% right. So the two avenues. One is I'm hoping you as a fellow podcaster, maybe you can invite him to do a joint.
We're in a WhatsApp group, fellow podcasters. That's it.
I reckon a joint podcast in Vegas would be awesome. But he's quite close with Dana White. Dana's in town for UFC on Sunday. And UFC, we've got a great partnership with them. They're helping us with the combine. We use their high performance facility for the players. So we'll ask Dana if he can help us get Joe there, because I agree with you. To get him talking about a game would reach, literally millions of Americans. But James, don't underestimate your pool.
I'll talk about the great game. For me, mate, it's the best game on the planet. And it's such a why are we keeping it a secret? I don't understand. It's remarkable. It changed my life, but also as a product, it's clear that it beats other sports, in my opinion.
So a big opportunity for us, of course, is showcasing the athleticism, the ferocity, the physicality, the speed and intensity of the women's game through this test match. The other is the Raiders-Warriors game will be on network television in America. Network television for us is huge. That's going to reach a much bigger audience, and it's all part of this. Like you said, once you've seen rugby league, once you've understood it, once you've actually experienced it, it becomes absolutely a passion point for you. So this is about our acquisition. So influencers will help us, but also getting the game on network television will be big for us too.
Is there a possibility it's going to be a season-long exposure as opposed to just the one game in Vegas? Like I say, those time slots are available.
Yeah, we are, our plan, we have a 12-year sort of marketing plan for Always On in America. So we'll be promoting Watch NRL, which is how fans can actually literally stream every single game, including Origin, no matter where they are in the world. We'll be promoting the registration for fantasy and for tipping and those types of engagement. And then hopefully seeing, and we have seen already, more and more fans leaning in throughout the season, not just for the season opening.
With that, and obviously the move to America and sports business has become so important. It's a game of passion. It's grassroots, but it is a business now, whether we like it or we don't. Every sporting competition in the world is a business. We've seen the NFL. They've got ambition to become the third biggest sport in Europe, and they're moving games there. We've seen the Spanish, I don't know if it's the Spanish Super Cup that's played in Saudi Arabia now. The final is played in Saudi Arabia. So we're seeing other sports start to expand their reach. The Major League Baseball, they played a game here in Australia. Is this how important from a business point of view of the sport? Because some people would ridicule going to Vegas. Other sports would have a pop at us and look for slight negatives and go after us. But from a business point of view, just how important is this globalization of our game?
So at our fundamentals, we are a sport, but the business of sport is around how you grow. The more you grow and the more fans and customers you have, the more you can reinvest back into the game. Where does that money go back into? Into getting the best of the best, the elite player salaries, making the salary cap bigger, increasing number of teams, grassroots football, better facilities, better opportunities for young kids to come through and develop. So ultimately, we're a sport, we're not for profit. Everything we do is coming back and reinvesting back in the game. But what we need to do, we'd be crazy if we weren't taking what is ultimately a domestic, the strategy you outline is domestic competitions that are regional and showcasing the best of the best of the rest of the world. What do we have in our favor? We have the best rugby league competition in the world. Now, I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to say we've got the best rugby athletes in the world, no matter what the code, union or league. And I say that with confidence, unashamedly, having grown up most of my life playing and watching union, and now the second half of my career falling in love with league and seeing and objectively understanding what it is that we offer fans. So we've got the best rugby athletes on the planet. We wouldn't be doing our jobs if we weren't thinking about how we can showcase this premium competition to the rest of the world. But you can't be naive and think you're going to flick a switch and all of a sudden have instant fans everywhere. This isn't about, rugby league being played in schools across America just yet. You've got to start somewhere. And where you start is showcasing the best in that market and then thinking about how you can grow it organically from there. We have ambitions for rugby league to become a truly global game, but that's not going to happen overnight. But you've got to start somewhere, and this is what this is. It's the deliberate commitment on a planned number of strategies to think about how we can take the best rugby athletes in the world and showcase them to an unlimited audience of global sports fans. Right time zone, right platform, how they like to consume the product.
I love the ambition. Where I grew up in Liverpool, people didn't know the difference between league and union. They didn't really particularly care. It was all soccer or football as it's known back home. But like I was banging the drum, and you can have a little influence, and mates from school will watch it and like, Jesus, what a sport we've got on our hands here. In terms of other expansion areas, Vegas is a 5-year plan or 5-year deal. You said about 12 years. Can we expect us to go into other geographical locations?
Yes. So think about it, west, centre, east. The centre, we're thinking about obviously expansion of franchises, and we're thinking about Western Australia and New Zealand. East is about us making sure that rugby league becomes the true sport of the Pacific. And our Pacific strategy and our partnership with the Australian government is critical because this is landmark. This is us investing at the grassroots level and making rugby league the true sport that unites us in this region. The strategy west is about us acquiring niche sports fans and showcasing what rugby league is all about. And that's why a healthy Super League is important, and that's why Europe and America is so important. These are big populations and big economies and mature markets. And what we're offering is, again, at the right time, an opportunity for, just like we would follow in Australia, NBA or NFL or whatever, or soccer, whatever the case may be, as our second, third, fourth for the sport. That's what we're after, but at scale. So that is about fan acquisition on the west. And on the east, it's about literally changing people's lives and making rugby league a community enabler, an education enabler. And of course, all of this means we're going to unearth more talent. We're going to unearth more people playing the sport, men and women, boys and girls from all over. And that's why expansion of the franchises in Australia is also critical for us as well.
Yeah. Just on Vegas with this 5-year strategy, you want to involve all the teams. So after 4 years, that will be 16 teams. With year 5, is there a possibility, and obviously we like to grow and go bigger and better, of taking the entire round 1 to Las Vegas?
Well, you never say never. Like, it's a bold ambition. Now, we would need to work on the economics of it, but why not? Why not think about creating a true magic round?
And in terms of fairness of the travel impact, if we took all 16 or 18 clubs over, like, why wouldn't we have that ambition?
Yeah, and well, there's 2 elements to that. One is creating a true magic round on a global stage, and who knows where that could be. The other is we're talking about a time frame where we will in the new cycle, we'll have a different season structure, and with a different number of teams, it allows us to think differently around how that season's structured too. And why wouldn't we want to think about creating opportunities to be able to play rounds or fixtures in these new growth markets, which we're seeing other sports do as well. Like NFL announced that they're going to be playing in Australia. That opens up opportunities for us because we are mirroring that strategy in America. And if we work together, we think that there's something in that. So it's a good idea. It will require a lot of planning to ensure there's a good return on investment, but not impossible.
Yeah. Return on investment in terms of year 1, the parameters all.
No, you've got to take a long-term view.
So it's a long-term view.
Absolutely.
But so far we're happy as a game, as a business at head office. Everybody's stoked with what we've achieved.
The commission committed to the strategy, and it was an investment in year 1. We're at break even now in year 2, and that's with more teams.
Yeah.
So you're talking about an economy that is already in the short term providing significant new revenues to the game. We've got new sponsors. We've sold tickets, obviously. We've sold travel packages. And we've got revenues coming in through these sponsorships, which more than justifies the investment in playing the game there. But the real long-term return on investment is how many fans can we win? And how can we grow our broadcast revenues internationally when we do that deal next? So that's the true return on investment. But we've been really disciplined, and the business case is playing out as we thought it might, which is we're actually getting short-term revenues in.
Well, I think I speak for almost all NRL fans and say how excited we are about where this game can go. Just quickly, Bulldogs have mentioned about having the names on the back of the shirt. Can you provide us with a little bit of an update? It's obviously I grew up with European sport. I had my name on the back of the shirt. Are we likely to see it anytime soon?
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think it's good innovation. You've got to think about your customers always. You think about fans. Makes it easier to identify the players during the game. But also, it's a great merchandise opportunities. We know fans would love to, have the jumper of their favourite player with not just the number, but the name as well. So if you think about fans and you think about fan experience during the game and from a merchandise perspective, it's a great idea. We've got to think about how we bring it to life. And, credit to the Bulldogs for saying, we want to do this and we want to go to Vegas and we want to do this as part of that. And we're open to that and work with the commission on how we can make this work. But I think innovation is good, and anything that is centered around giving the customers more value and giving them what they want is a good thing.
Is it going to have to be one in, all in, or could a club like the Bulldogs be the outlier and do it themselves and replace that top of jersey sponsor with the surname of the player?
We'll do the work on it. Like it's a relatively new suggestion that the Bulldogs have come up with. We'll have a look at it, because I wouldn't see why the clubs would not all want to participate in this. And if we can standardize it across the competition, that's a good thing. Maybe it can coexist with the sponsorship that's on the jersey, and we look at the resizing. Got to make sure it's feasible. So we'll have a good look at that and come up with something that is pretty compelling.
But if a club wanted to go out on their own, would the game, would head office, the commission be opposed to that, do you think?
We're not opposed to innovation and ideas of doing something cool like that, but it would need to be within the rules. And if we needed the rules changed, then that's a conversation with the commission. But they've, obviously the commission is really open-minded, particularly around things that are going to take us forward. So it's possible. We just got to work through it.
Speaking of rules, finally, before you go, last question or last thought. I'm delighted that the NRL are going to crack down on milking. We've spoken a little bit about other sports and their impact. I think what sets us apart is the competitiveness, the toughness, the very nature of our sport.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to see milking. How's that going to? How difficult? I appreciate it's great. The black and white nature of the sport, i.e., if you touch the player, they go down. It's not going to be a try. It works, but it upsets a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Is this going to be difficult to implement in terms of what is milking?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, we've taken the feedback on board. So we did the end of season review. A couple of things. One, the game's in good shape. It's pretty fast. It's continuous, and there's a lot of real positives around how the game has been played. Credit to the clubs and the players in that regard. So no rule changes. But listening to the feedback, there's an opportunity where there's areas of frustration and angst where we can sharpen up how the officials are going to police these rules, which is alluding to milking, but ultimately a couple of things. We want to clean up play the ball. We want to make sure with obstruction that it actually is a genuine obstruction. Yeah. So what we're bringing in is actually a common sense rule here, a filter, to say to the match officials, would that player actually have made that tackle? Forget about whether there was a slight contact. Forget about whether technically or not all of these indicators are there. We want you to look at it and go, was that actually a poor defensive read? And the player is now reacting to his poor defensive decision and going down. Would he ever have got there? And did the, it's this fine line between, we don't want blockers in the game, but we equally don't want a situation where there's like absolutely no balance between offense and defense. And so this is really, in its simplified version, it's really just about, we've given the referee's license to say, is this genuinely an obstruction? Would he have gotten there? And if it's a poor defensive decision, just because there was contact and he's gone down, that will still not be ruled an obstruction.
So, look, I'm looking ahead to this utopia where there's no milking. It doesn't exist.
I'm not sure if it exists.
We're not there. Yeah. We're not at Atlantis. But
That's why we love live sport, though, because it's unpredictable. And it's rubber the green, right?
And and passionate fans debate. He didn't get there.
You got to
he wouldn't have
that.
got there. But you got to respect the.
You got to respect.
Yeah,
you've got to respect the passion too.
And we love the debate because if I'm watching the Bulldogs, I think the player gets there. Because I'm a Bulldogs fan.
Yeah.
But shoes on the other foot, the opposition fans go, no way. But this is going to create debate. But is the sort of stance of the NRL is like, no, we're going to back our officials and we're going to have them make decision. And if they get criticised and somebody says, I think they would have made it or I think they wouldn't, we just stand on that foundation of we're getting milking out of the game and we're going to back the referees to make their interpretation the correct one.
Yes, and not only are we backing the referees, we're also backing the coaches and the players. We're saying to everyone quite transparently, this is what we're looking for, and this is how we're going to be officiated. And if you are a coach or you're a player and you're going to operate outside of that, I reckon you're going to get found out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is the teams that adjust generally adjust quicker, generally do better, and the others are left behind. So it's almost like, I think naturally this gets phased out because we've been so transparent around what the intent is of what we're trying to do. Of course, there's going to be situations where it's like, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say it's 50-50. You might have a different view. And that's kind of what we love about sport. But we just want to get what's the right word here? We want the spirit of this to be, let's go and play some football and let's not be robotic and let's back the referees, as you say, to make the call. But the intent here is, was it a genuine obstruction or did he just make a poor call and then he was looking for contact himself as a defender?
Well, for me, I'll take the debate over the 50-50 as opposed to any milking. It's a horrible look for our game. Our game, the cornerstone of it is that toughness. In other sports where I see simulation, diving.
Jimmy, can I also give credit to the referees here? And this is not popular to do, but I stand by it. They've done a great job when it comes to some of the points of contact around tackles, whether it be crusher tackles or others, where they don't tolerate milking. Like they play on and they play through it. And as a result, now we're seeing that the players are adjusting to that. So absolutely, no one likes to see it. No one likes to see something that is theatrical. Yeah. It's a tough sport, and you've got to get that balance right. So hopefully, this is a positive change.
I think you summed it up. It's the spirit of the game. Like it really is. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us here. The football season cannot come quick enough. All the very best in Vegas and the entire season.
It's always good to chat to you. I'm looking forward to the season, like probably the most out of everyone. I can't wait for the footy to start. But don't forget to get Joe Rogan to the game for us.
I'll try my very best, mate. I'll DM him.
Good to chat to you, James.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andrew.